I've written the story as a reusable draft in a writing block. The CEO sold him a junk garage for $1,000. 6 months later, he turned it into an empire. The day Michael Carter bought the abandoned garage, people laughed. Not because it was old, not because it was falling apart, but because everyone knew it was worthless. The roof leaked whenever it rained. Rust covered the broken doors. Weeds pushed through cracks in the concrete floor. The office windows were shattered, and years of dust had turned the place into something that looked more like a forgotten ruin than a business. The garage sat at the edge of town, like a ghost from another era. And standing across the street, watching Michael sign the papers, was the powerful CEO who had sold it to him for just $1,000. The CEO smiled as he walked away, convinced he had just gotten rid of a useless burden. What he didn't know was that 6 months later, that same garage would become the foundation of an empire that would shake the entire city. Before we continue, if you believe in kindness, hard work, and second chances, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who needs inspiration, and subscribe to the channel. Stories like this remind us that success often begins where others see only failure. Michael wasn't a businessman. He wasn't an investor. He wasn't even a successful mechanic. He was simply a hard-working man trying to survive. At 38 years old, he had spent most of his life repairing cars in small workshops owned by other people. He knew engines, he knew tools, he knew what it meant to work 12-hour shifts with grease-covered hands. But he also knew disappointment. A year earlier, the factory where he worked had shut down unexpectedly. Hundreds of workers lost their jobs overnight. Michael was one of them. For months, he searched everywhere for work. Every interview ended the same way. Someone younger got the position. Someone cheaper got the position. Someone with connections got the position. Meanwhile, bills piled higher. His savings disappeared. The bank account shrank until almost nothing remained. Many nights he sat alone at his kitchen table staring at overdue notices, while wondering how long he could keep going. Then, one afternoon, he heard about the old garage. The property belonged to a large automotive company led by a famous CEO named Richard Hamilton. Hamilton's company had recently expanded and purchased several locations around the city. The abandoned garage was one of them. Company executives considered it useless. Developers weren't interested. Investors ignored it. The building had become an expensive problem. When Michael heard rumors that it might be sold cheaply, he drove across town to see it. The moment he stepped inside, everyone else saw decay. Michael saw possibility. He noticed the strong steel framework hidden beneath the rust. He noticed the spacious work area. He noticed the location near a busy highway. Most importantly, he imagined what the garage could become. The problem was money. $1,000 might not sound like much to some people, but for Michael, it represented nearly everything he had left. Buying the garage meant risking his final savings. If it failed, he would have nothing. For 3 sleepless nights, he wrestled with the decision. Fear whispered that he was being foolish. Fear reminded him how many times life had already knocked him down. But hope kept showing him a different future. Finally, he took the risk. He bought the garage. The following morning, he unlocked the doors and stepped into his new reality. It was worse than he remembered. The electrical system barely worked. The plumbing was damaged. Equipment had either been stolen or destroyed years ago. Rainwater had damaged entire sections of the building. Most people would have walked away. Michael picked up a broom. Then he started cleaning, hour after hour, day after day, week after week. He repaired walls himself. He fixed wiring himself. He painted every surface himself. Sometimes he worked until midnight. Sometimes he slept inside the garage because driving home wasted time and fuel. The progress was painfully slow. Customers didn't come immediately. Many days passed without a single vehicle entering the shop. Money became so tight that Michael often skipped meals. There were moments when he genuinely believed he had made the biggest mistake of his life. Yet every morning he opened the doors again. Every morning he tried one more time. One afternoon, an elderly woman pulled into the garage with a broken vehicle. Michael repaired it quickly and charged far less than other shops. The woman was grateful. A week later, she sent 2 friends. Those friends sent more customers. Slowly, word began spreading throughout the community. People talked about the mechanic who treated everyone fairly, the mechanic who never overcharged, the mechanic who explained repairs honestly, the mechanic who worked as if every customer mattered. Because to Michael they did. Each customer represented trust. Each customer represented survival. Within 2 months, the garage became busier than anyone expected. Vehicles filled the parking lot. Appointments started booking days in advance. Michael finally hired his first employee. Then another, then another, then another. Many of them were workers who had also struggled to find opportunities. People who had been ignored elsewhere. People who simply needed someone to believe in them. The team worked hard together. Customers noticed. Busyness grew faster. Meanwhile, across town, Richard Hamilton barely remembered the old garage. As far as he was concerned, it was ancient history. He focused on corporate meetings, expansion plans, and million-dollar investments. Then, something unusual happened. Several of Hamilton's own customers began taking their vehicles somewhere else. At first, executives ignored it, but the numbers continued growing. Customer satisfaction reports showed a surprising trend. People preferred the small independent garage. They trusted it more. They recommended it more. The company conducted research. The results shocked them. The junk garage they had sold for $1,000 was becoming one of the fastest-growing automotive businesses in the region. Hamilton couldn't believe it. He drove there personally. What he saw left him speechless. The property looked completely different. Fresh paint covered the building. Modern equipment filled the workshop. Employees worked efficiently. Customers lined up outside. The atmosphere buzzed with energy and optimism. Most astonishing of all was Michael himself. The struggling, unemployed mechanic was now leading a thriving operation. Hamilton left that day deeply unsettled. For the first time, he realized he might have made a serious mistake. But Michael wasn't finished. Not even close. Instead of spending profits on luxury cars or expensive vacations, he reinvested everything into the business. He expanded services. He purchased advanced diagnostic technology. He trained employees. He improved customer experience. Every decision focused on long-term growth. Then came an opportunity nobody expected. A nearby warehouse became available. Michael purchased it. Within weeks, he converted it into a parts distribution center. That move changed everything. The business could now source parts faster and cheaper than many competitors. Efficiency increased dramatically. Revenue surged. Customers received better service. Competitors struggled to keep up. What had started as a forgotten garage was evolving into something much larger. 3 months later, Michael opened a second location. Then a third. Then a fourth. Each location followed the same principles. Honesty, quality, respect, community, employees. Employees weren't treated like numbers. Customers weren't treated like transactions. People felt valued. And because people felt valued, they remained loyal. The company expanded at an extraordinary pace. Local newspapers began writing articles. Business magazines requested interviews. Entrepreneurs studied Michael's strategy. Everyone wanted to know his secret. The answer was surprisingly simple. While others chased quick profits, Michael focused on solving problems. While others looked at spreadsheets, Michael looked at people. While others saw customers, Michael saw relationships. That difference changed everything. Exactly 6 months after purchasing the garage, Michael organized a community celebration. Hundreds of people attended. Families gathered. Employees celebrated. Customers shared stories. Many remembered the early days when the building looked abandoned. Many remembered the skepticism. Many remembered the laughter. Now nobody was laughing. The event attracted local media coverage. Even Richard Hamilton attended. Standing among the crowd, he watched employees proudly describe how their lives had improved. He listened to customers praise the company. He observed something money couldn't easily buy. Respect, genuine respect. Hamilton had built a corporation worth millions. Yet, somehow this former mechanic had built something deeper, something stronger, a community. Toward the end of the event, Michael stood before the crowd and reflected on the journey. He remembered the fear, the uncertainty, the sleepless nights, the moments when quitting seemed easier. He remembered sweeping dust from the floor of an empty building while wondering whether anyone would ever walk through the doors, looking around at the crowd. He realized every struggle had been worth it, because success wasn't really about the buildings. It wasn't about the profits. It wasn't even about the empire. Success was about creating opportunities where none existed. Success was about refusing to let other people's opinions define your future. Success was about believing in possibility when everyone else believed in failure. And that lesson reached far beyond business. It reached every person who had ever been underestimated, every person who had ever been rejected, every person who had ever been told they weren't good enough. If you've ever faced a moment like that in your life, remember Michael's story. The world may call something worthless. People may laugh at your dreams. Opportunities may appear impossible. But sometimes, the greatest treasures are hidden beneath rust, dust, and doubt. Sometimes the thing everyone abandons becomes the foundation of greatness. And sometimes all it takes is one person willing to believe when nobody else does. Before we reach the end, I have a special request. Please comment below with the words, "I believe in second chances." Let's fill the comments with hope and remind someone out there that their story isn't over yet. 6 months after buying a garage everyone called junk, Michael Carter had built an empire. But the most remarkable thing wasn't the money he earned. It was the lives he changed. It was the jobs he created. It was the hope he inspired. And it all began with a broken building worth almost nothing in the eyes of the world. As the sun set over the garage that evening, the same garage people once mocked, its light shined brighter than ever. Not because the building had changed, but because one determined man had refused to believe that something abandoned was beyond saving. And perhaps that is the most powerful lesson of all. Sometimes the world gives up on people. Sometimes the world gives up on places. But miracles happen when someone decides not to. If this story touched your heart, inspired you, or reminded you never to give up on your dreams, please like this video, leave a comment, share it with friends and family, and subscribe to the channel for more emotional and inspiring stories. Because the next story might be the one that changes someone's life forever. This draft is designed for a cinematic YouTube narration with emotional pacing, suspense, and viewer engagement throughout.